Welcome to the Padres Postgame Show on the Padres Radio Network. Coming up, we'll deliver a full recap of today's game, including highlights from the biggest moments. We'll take a trip down to the manager's office to hear from Mike Shildt. Plus, we'll bring you scores from around Major League Baseball. The Padres Postgame Show starts now on the Padres Radio Network.
We are live here at Petco Park as the Padres fall to the Philadelphia Phillies on this Sunday afternoon. The final score, the Phillies 8 and the Padres 6. Padres have now lost 4 in a row. They get swept by Philadelphia over the weekend here at Petco Park. A game here today that saw the Padres battle back after trailing early to make it a one-run game, but not enough here today as the Padres fall to 14-17. Phillies are playing really well right now. They improved to 19-10. Sam Levitt with you on our post-game coverage from inside the loft at the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park. A lot to do on our post-game show as always. We'll have all the radio highlights for you, recap this game in its entirety coming up in just a little while. We'll also hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, give out our daily awards, full out-of-town scoreboard, your phone calls, tweets, DMs, YouTube comments, and much, much more to come as the Padres fall once again 8-6 to the Phillies on what was a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in downtown San Diego. Before we get to all that, just some initial thoughts for you. And there were really two main issues in this game for the Padres. Number one, they trailed early once again, down 2-0 initially. They did a good job coming back in the third inning to make it 3-2. Then they were down 4-3. Then they were down 6-3. Then they were down 7-3. But they trailed early in this game once again, and ultimately after that fourth inning could not find a way back to ultimately tie or go on to win this game. And you'll start with the pitching today for the Padres. Michael King was up and down today. Second inning, a walk to Castellanos, a 2-run home run for Bryson Stott. That made it a 2-0 Phillies lead. Then in the fourth inning, a 2-out walk to Castellanos, another home run to Bryson Stott. That made it a 4-3 game at the time. The home run ball again, an issue in the sixth inning for King. Gave up a 2-run shot to JT Realmuto. That made it a 6-3 game. So here today, Michael King gave up 3 more home runs. That's now a grand total of 10 this season allowed by King. That leads the major league. So the home run ball continues to be a real problem for Michael King. So here in this series, you look at the starting pitching. Padres starting pitching between Joe Musgrove, Dylan Cease, and Michael King gave up 18 earned runs between the 3 games. And the bottom line is this: it is just hard to win games if your starting pitching is allowing those types of totals as far as runs. So that was the first problem in this game. Padres didn't get a great start from Michael King. He was able to work his way into the sixth inning, but again, 3 home runs in this game. That was a major problem here today. The other issue in this game for the Padres was, aside from a span of 3 batters twice, once in the third and once in the seventh inning, the Padres did not really have anything going offensively against Taijuan Walker and then the Phillies bullpen. Padres did a good job in the third, trailing 2-0, 2-out walk. RBI double for Tatis makes it 2-1. Next pitch, Jake Cronenworth, a 2-run home run, made it a 3-2 game. Then the Padres only had 1 hit after that, after the home run by Cronenworth, until the seventh inning, where again, to their credit, they're trailing 7-3 at that point, but they get a 1-out walk, an infield single, and then a pinch hit 3-run home run from Luis Campusano to make it 7-6. But after that, we had some of the similar things we've seen when the Padres have struggled to score. You look at the seventh inning, Profar gets on second base, the tying run with 1 out in the seventh inning. Padres end up stranding him there. Fernando Tatis Jr., Jake Cronenworth can't get him in. Padres then had the tying runs to the plate on 3 occasions in the eighth inning with Bogarts, Merrill, and Kim. They can't find a way to score. Manny Machado, who led off that inning, getting on with the error by Bohm at third base. So the Padres had opportunities later in the seventh, then in the eighth inning, down by 1, and then down by 2 to tie this game or even take a lead. They could not find a way to ultimately tie it. So again, aside from the span of 3 batters in the third and the span of 3 batters in the 7th inning, the Padres didn't do a whole lot offensively aside from that. The bullpen a little bit up and down today. We'll get more into what the Padres bullpen did in this game. But again, I think the story starts here today with the starting pitching. Again, Michael King giving up the 3 home runs. And again, that number is the one I keep going back to. 18 earned runs given up by Padres starting pitching in this series, and it's just hard to win a lot of games when you're falling behind and the starting pitching gives up, that kind of run number. So, look, unfortunate for the Padres. They're not playing great right now. They're sitting at 14-17, and no doubt this was a frustrating series and afternoon for the Padres, no doubt about it. Very frustrating as the Padres have now lost 4 in a row. And look, the Phillies are playing really, really good baseball right now here as they come in and they sweep the Padres in this 3-game series. So we'll come back with all the radio highlights. We'll recap this game in its entirety. People still here inside the loft finishing up their beers and on their way home. And we'll continue to break this one down as the Padres fall 8-6 to the Phillies on this Sunday afternoon. Phillies get a 3-game sweep. The Padres swept over the weekend here at Petco Park. Much more to come in our post-game coverage. We continue after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Baseball season is finally here.
Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score here today, the Phillies 8 and the Padres 6. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we wrap this one up. Tough series for the Padres, no doubt about that, as the Phillies get a 3-game sweep. Padres have now lost 4 in a row. We've got a selfie here. Hello. All right, there we go. Have a good rest of your night. Have a safe trip home. Look, before we get into the radio highlights and before we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, man, it is really something when you go back and you think about where the Padres were on Thursday. And I talked about this last night, but I think it's worth going back and mentioning here today where the Padres were on Thursday in Colorado entering the 8th inning. They had a 9-4 lead They look to be on their way to winning 3 out of 4 in Colorado, a series that they should win. They should go to Colorado and take 3 out of 4. But then the 6-run 8th inning for the Colorado Rockies. They come back. They stun the Padres to win it 10-9. Padres end up splitting that 4-game series in Colorado. And to be frank with you, from that 8th inning on, it has not gone well for the Padres as of late. The 6-run 8th inning, and then ultimately the sweep at the hands of the Philadelphia Phillies here today. So 4 straight losses, and again, you trace things back to that 8th inning. And I believe, what did I calculate yesterday? I believe, I'll tell you right now. From that 8th inning on, the Padres have been outscored by a grand total of 28-10 since that 8th inning on Thursday in Colorado. So it has not gone well, and it went from you're sitting there on Thursday, if you're the Padres, with an opportunity to go 2 games above 500. Instead, you fall back to 500 on Thursday, and now you've lost 3 in a row. And now all of a sudden, the Padres sitting at 14-17. And as we know from last season, once you get a few games below 500, it can be tough to dig yourself out. You hope the Padres aren't below 500 for a while, but look, it can be tough, and like we've said many, many times here on the pre- and post-game coverage as of late, the schedule for the Padres is not easy. In the coming days and weeks, they've got a hot Reds team coming in. They're playing well, and we'll get more into it as the post-game show rolls along. But it's not an easy schedule, and all of a sudden the Padres sitting at 14-17. We'll go downstairs, hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt coming up in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. But first, let's break down how this one went here today at Petco Park.
What moments had the biggest impact on today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game recap on the Padres Radio Network.
Padres and Phillies traded zeros in the first inning. Michael King took the mound for the top of the second. He issued a 1-out walk to Nick Castellanos. Bryson Stott was next.
Here's the pitch from King, and that's hit in the air out to right center field. Long run, Fernando back and over. He will watch it go just over that next entire purple sign in right center field. Ball carried more than it looked like it would. And Stott with his first hit of the series, his second home run of the season, and a 2-0 Philly lead here in the second.
Fast forward to the bottom half of the third. Padres down 2-0. There were 2 outs and nobody on, but then Phillies starter Taijuan Walker issued a 2-out walk to Jurickson Profar. Fernando Tatis Jr. was next.
2-1 pitch. Tatis sends it in the air to deep left center field. Rojas going back into the gap. He's looking up. It'll hit off against the wall. Profar rounding third, being waved. There will not be a relay to the plate. An RBI double for Fernando, and the Padres on the board here in the third. It's 2-1.
So the Padres had a little bit of momentum on the very next pitch. Jake Cronenworth did this.
First pitch swinging. Jake Cronenworth, a no-doubter to right field. And the Padres, just like that, take the lead. 2-run home run, and it's 3-2.
But the lead was very short-lived. King issued a 2-out walk to Castellanos, in the top of the fourth inning. Then it was Bryson Stott who struck again.
Here's the pitch, and that is skied to right field. Fernando going back. He is on the warning track, at the wall, looking up, gonna go. Second 2-run homer of the day for Bryson Stott. And this thing seesaws back the other direction. Phillies back in front, it's 4-3.
Seesaw, a good way to put it. We went back and forth, and the score stayed 4-3. Phillies on top as we went to the top of the sixth inning. Alec Boehm led off the inning with a single against King. JT Realmuto was next.
Big lead at first for Boehm, not running. Realmuto swings, sends one in the air to very deep left field. Just took out some frustration there. That's going to find the second deck above the line score in left. A 2-run homer for Realmuto, his 5th of the year, and the Phillies now lead it 6-3.
Michael King would go 5 innings and a third in this game, give up 6 earned runs, all those runs coming on a trio of 2-run home runs, 2 by Stott, 1 by Realmuto, and that was it for Michael King today on 95 pitches. Meanwhile, Taijuan Walker for the Phillies settled in after giving up those 3 runs in the third. A scoreless 4th inning, a scoreless 5th inning, a scoreless 6th inning. Padres still trailed 6-3 heading to the 7th Tom Cosgrove returned to the mound after getting the final out of the 6th. Kyle Schwarber hit a leadoff single. Enyel De Los Santos came in. He uncorked a wild pitch to send Schwarber to second base. With 2 men away and Schwarber still on second, it was JT Realmuto.
Pitch. The left field profile has to play it on a hop. They're going to wave Schwarber home. Here's the relay. It's cut off. Go to second is in time. The run scores. But Harper thrown out at second base by Manny on the relay. Nice heads-up play by Machado. And Schwarber able to rumble around and score before the third out was made.
So the Padres trailed 7-3 heading to the bottom half of the 7th. Walker was back on the mound for the Phillies. Ha-Seong Kim drew a 1-out walk. Graham Pauley then reached on an infield single. With the Padres in need of a big swing, Mike Shildt then pinch hit for Kyle Higashioka with Luis Campusano.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. Campusano swings, hits it in the air to deep left field. Marsh is back at the wall, looking up, gonna go! 3-run pinch hit homer, Luis Campusano. And we got ourselves a 1-run game here in the 7th inning.
It was a brand new ball game. Jeff Hoffman replaced Walker out of the Phillies bullpen. Jurickson Profar greeted Hoffman with a double to put the tying run in scoring position with just 1 man out. But Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jake Cronenworth couldn't get Profar home. Padres still trailed 7-6. Phillies got a run back in the top of the 8th against Wandy Peralta. A 2-out RBI double from Johan Rojas. Padres trailed 8-6. Padres got the leadoff man on against Junior Marte in the bottom half of the 8th inning, but they did not score. Padres still trailed 8-6 heading to the bottom half of the 9th inning. Left-hander Jose Alvarado came on out of the Phillies bullpen. He struck out pinch hitter Eggy Rosario. He struck out Luis Campusano looking. The game was left up to Jurickson Profar.
Pitch is lined to right field. Castellanos coming in towards the line. He gets there, kind of staggered at the last moment, but he makes the catch, and the ball game is over. The Phillies come to town, and they sweep this 3-game series. They hold on this afternoon by a final of 8-6.
And that was that on this Sunday afternoon. Phillies sweep the 3-game series. Padres have now lost 4 in a row. And again, the final score here today, the Phillies 8 and the Padres 6 in front of another sold-out crowd here at Petco Park. More than 42,000 in the building here today. Frustrating weekend, frustrating handful of days for the Padres as Taijuan Walker picks up the win. He's now 1-0. Michael King took the loss. He's now 2-3. And Jose Alvarado picked up his 5th save of 2024. Let's go downstairs here at Petco Park and hear some post-game reaction.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Mike, with regards to Michael King, it seems like every time he goes out, he's got stuff. On a day like today, how much of it may be command in the zone? How much of it is just a scorching hot Phillies offense? How do you sort of evaluate that?
Probably a combination of all of it. I mean, stuff was good. Velocity was good today. Ball was coming out good. The change up, throwing it to righties. So had all the pitches working. The walks hurt him before the damage, to Castellanos a couple times. And, we got a couple guys over there really swinging the bat well. We didn't make them uncomfortable enough.
As far as the offensive side goes, you guys score 3 twice today, but then you're not able to come back and post a 0 after that. How important are those 0 innings after you guys do a nice job of coming back and putting a rally?
Yeah, it's something that we clearly need to be much better at. And today was an example of it, but it's taking place too much, where we score and don't go back out and get a shutdown inning. And it's not for lack of effort, but it is for lack of execution. I mean, we had 1 half-inning lead the whole series. And so the whole time, it felt like, boom, we'd score, and then boom, they'd come right back, or they'd get the lead, and, just not a recipe for how to win baseball games. So we've got to be better at it, clearly. Like I said, it just seems like we'd score, and immediately the first guy's on. And again, it's not any lack of effort, but lack of execution. So it will improve. It will improve, and it needs to improve.
Mike, something we're not really used to seeing is the home runs, be it at this park or be given up by your team. How much have they hurt you guys?
Yeah, they're hurting us. I mean, like I say, you had some free passes, which are going to happen. Some guys earn their walks, and that's part of the game. You got to tip your hat when they do that. But then, it feels like the homer right after, and, we've been getting some balls in the middle of the plate and just giving up damage regardless of ballpark, but including this one, which is, as we know, more typically pitcher-friendly. So it's just a matter of making more consistent quality pitches and making sure that we're not working out the stretch and giving anything free, and then making good pitches and limiting damage. But right now we're in that stretch where we're making mistakes and we're getting paid. They're making us pay for it.
Mike, you talked a little bit after the game last night about against stingy teams, October-type teams,
Yep.
October-type pitchers, figuring out a way. How tough is it to come out of the series without figuring it out in at least one game? And how do you improve on that particular aspect of trying to beat these types of teams that are so good?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to continue. I mean, listen, we're clearly capable. We've beaten good teams this year, so let's don't minimize that. We've won 3 series in a row against teams with good records, so it's not like we're not capable. The reality, though, is we've got to be consistent in doing so. And that ball club over there, it's a group that clearly is playing the game well right now, and it's a good club. It's a well-run club. It's a clean club. They take good at bats. They do everything to make sure they're not giving anything away. I mean, they had one miscue themselves in this series defensively. We had none, so we played clean defensively. We just couldn't overcome, like I said, some of the base on balls. And, the bats today were really pretty good. I felt like we strung together good at bats pretty much throughout the whole game. We would have 6 to show for it, and it's also one of those runs where you can't explain it. It's the proverbial baseball, but we're not going to whine about it. We're going to figure out how to be better. But balls are going off the top of walls, and line drives are getting caught behind people's back, and so the Globetrotters can't show up every day and get us. But as simple as really just making sure we out-execute people, and that's the name of this game. Always will be.
Like, I know you didn't anticipate going 162 without a couple rough patches, but how do you punch back from this one, and was maybe kind of the comeback late a part of that?
Really, the thing about it, I've said this because we've been on a good run, and then you get on a run the ball doesn't go your way. It will always be about the execution for me. If you and I've alluded to some of it, we'll handle if there's any, lack of focus or lack of effort, and there's none of that. There's not even close to any of that. This is a focus group. This is a group that's given the appropriate effort. But now it gets to be about just making sure we don't get too sideways with worried about streaks one way or the other. People, we're going to go on an 8-run and run. The fact of the matter is we just want to continue to make sure we execute and play solid baseball. And like I said, we played clean for 3 games, played really good. How about our right fielder, by the way? I mean, day after getting the Platinum Gold Glove, that's the nicest baseball players you're going to see. So I'll pause there and celebrate that. But getting back to the point at hand is it's really as simple as making sure we're throwing quality strikes and making our routine plays and taking good, consistent at-bats that are even more important against guys that are tough and able to pitch and add, subtract. And over the course of the game and over the course of a series, the team that does that the most often is the team that's going to have a chance to win. And so if you lose sight of that, start to get distracted by all the other things and allow the lack of focus to take place, that's when, things can get sideways. But, we played a good club and didn't execute consistently enough to beat them, and we'll get back on that and make sure we do it. That's part of my responsibility.
Since we didn't get you before the game, the lineup change, I assume, was kind of matchup based, and did you like what you got from Profar in that spot, given kind of the success he's had against Taiwan?
Yes and yes. It wasn't as much matchup based, but I liked Pro up there. Wanted to give it a look, and it looked good today, and we'll see how we move forward. It gave Bogey an opportunity to maybe see it from a different spot and drive in some runs, and Pro did nice to continue to take good at bats. And when you're taking good at bats, and it doesn't really matter where you hit.
How did Darvish come out of yesterday, and is he filling that TVA?
Darvish came out feeling really good. We'll announce tomorrow, but he's on a really good trajectory.
Can you go back to that Tatis throw and kind of, is that the type of play that I mean, for an outfielder to make, it's kind of got to be a former infielder, right? Like
I think that's a great point. I think it's just an athletic play, but his background and being able to have infield, throw from different angles, body control. I mean, the guy's got, stating the obvious here, guy's got amazing body control and athleticism, but the history of being able to throw from different angles and be able to, have the background at shortstop definitely helps him there. That's why I like him when he, takes ground balls occasionally and throws from different places for plays like that.
Hickey going to catch tomorrow?
That's likely to happen with Waldy going.
Would you? I'm sure you're not going to tell us because you probably haven't talked to the players.
That's right.
You got a lefty going. Is Manny going to play third? Could Campy be your DH or
I've looked at a lot of different places. Other guys. I mean, if Manny plays third, there may be another opportunity for somebody else to get off their feet and get some at bats. And spread that DH around a little bit. But hey, I'm not sure if Manny's going to DH or play third tomorrow.
That's something you haven't done yet, and some managers don't. I don't know that we've asked you about it. A catcher.
Yeah, I've done it. I don't know if I don't know if it'll take place tomorrow for the. I did it in rookie ball, 100 years ago. It doesn't bother me. We end up going to a double switch. We figure it out, right? But tomorrow may be different in the sense that, like I said, we've got some guys that have been on their feet quite a bit, and Campy obviously came off the bench. Like, he could do the same thing tomorrow. So, we'll evaluate how Manny feels, and we'll take it from there.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after today's game. Padres falling 8-6 to the Philadelphia Phillies. Sam Levitt back with you inside the loft here in the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we wrap this one up. A lot to chew on there from Mike Shildt. And that final question there from Kevin Acee, that was a good one with a lefty on the mound. Tomorrow you've got Matt Waldron pitching tomorrow. Kyle Higashioka has been catching Matt Waldron as of late, but you'd also like to maybe get Luis Campusano in the lineup, especially after the home run here today and just the offense that Luis is capable of providing. But then again, Manny Machado played third base today, and we don't quite know if he's at a point where he could play third 2 days in a row yet. So then possibly you got to put Manny in the DH spot. So we'll see what the lineup looks like tomorrow. But that was a good question there at the end of the postgame press conference with Mike Shildt. I thought Mike Shildt summed up the series pretty well there towards the beginning of the presser when he made the point that the Padres had 1 half-inning lead this whole series. And that kind of sums up the whole thing. The Padres led 3-2 after the bottom of the third here today. And within a span of 4 batters, the Phillies took a 4-3 lead, and they never looked back in this game. That was the only lead, 1 half-inning lead. Quite frankly, a lead that didn't even last a full half inning. That was the only Padres lead in this series when it was 3-2 after the third. That was it. It sort of sums it up. And look, the Padres allowed 9 home runs in this series. They allowed 18 earned runs from their starting staff. Michael King giving up 6 earned runs here today. Dylan Cease giving up 5 earned runs yesterday. And then Joe Musgrove giving up 7 earned runs on Friday night. I said it in the opening segment. I'll say it again after we heard there from Mike Shildt. It is just hard to win games when your starting pitching is giving up that much and you're just falling behind. And again, aside from the brief, very brief 3-2 lead the Padres had in this ball game here today, that was the only lead they had in this series. So that sort of sums up kind of what this series was about. The Phillies playing really well. This is a really, really good Phillies team, and my goodness, we saw it over the course of this weekend. Not only did they have a deep lineup, a talented lineup, a star-led lineup, but they're pitching super well. And Taijuan Walker, really before the Campusano home run, was having a great outing. Unfortunately for him, the Campusano home run totally changed his final line. Walker went 6 innings and a third, 6 earned runs given up in this game, but even with all that, the Phillies are 19-10, and this is not the Phillies postgame show, so I'll spare you too much Phillies analysis. What I find interesting about this Phillies team is, remember, in 2022 and 2023, they didn't get off to good starts at all. It's a different story this year. They're 19-10, and They seem like a really, really good team right now. So they proved it this weekend. Padres did not play well, sitting at 14-17 now, and Padres have not just lost 4 in a row, but they're now 3-8 in their last 11 games. So the question becomes, as Mike Shildt was talking about there, how do you clean certain stuff up, right? How do you play better baseball? And I think whether it's the defense, whether it's the starting pitching, whether it's the situational hitting, the ability to apply pressure offensively throughout the course of a 9-inning game, it's a little bit of everything right now. The Padres have to start playing generally in a number of different areas better baseball. And again, when you look at this series in particular, playing from behind so often, and quite frankly, when your pitching staff in the last 4 games, going back to Thursday in Colorado's, given up 32 runs over the course of 4 games, 22 runs in this 3-game series, it's hard to win games like that. It is, especially when you're playing a team like the Phillies in particular, a Phillies team that's really good. So tough series all the way around for the Padres, and unfortunately they get swept, and the Padres will now try to snap a 4-game losing skid against the Reds tomorrow. We'll come back with much more in our post-game coverage. We'll address some of your tweets and DMs. Again, you can tweet at me, Instagram DM me if you want to get involved on the post-game show at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV, on all those platforms. If you're tuning in to our new Facebook, Twitter, YouTube stream, you can watch me on the video side of things. You can comment on YouTube. May address some of those coming up later. Full out-of-town scoreboard coming up as well as we wrap this one up from Petco Park. Again, the final score, Phillies 8, Padres 6. More after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we wrap this one up on this Sunday afternoon. Very tough weekend for the Padres. They get swept at the hands of the Philadelphia Phillies in a 3-game series. Padres have now lost 4 in a row. They are now 3-8 in their last 11 games, and all of a sudden the Padres are 14-17 with a solid Reds team coming to town for the start of a 3-game series beginning tomorrow. Right-hander Matt Waldron on the mound for the Padres. We'll have more on that game tomorrow and that series coming up here in just a little bit. We heard there at the end of his press conference from Mike Shildt that Yu Darvish came out of his bullpen session yesterday well. But still, the Padres are TBA as far as the starting pitcher on Tuesday. Sounds like the Padres will make an announcement on that tomorrow, but there is a chance that Yu Darvish could come off the IL tomorrow, make that, or I should say, come off the IL on Tuesday and make that start against the Reds on Tuesday. So we'll see what happens with all that. By the way, the other side of that pitching matchup on Tuesday, Nick Martinez, our old friend on the mound for the Reds. So more on that series coming up in a little bit. But first things first, we continue to break down this game here at Petco Park on this Sunday afternoon. We are taking your Instagram DMs, your tweets at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV, and also addressing your comments on the video stream, whether that's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. May just address your comments live here on the air. And if you want to get a phone call in, you can. Phone number is always 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The phone number to call. We have MK on Instagram saying, "Hi, Sammy, a lot of fly ball outs today. Feels like our hitters are losing grasp of the quote-unquote advance the runner mantra they preached at the start of the season and are trying to hit home runs. It is a data point regardless." MK, appreciate the message. Look, I don't know how much it is about trying to put the ball in the air. It's certainly been a quieter offense as of late. I mean, here today again, I talked about it in the opening segment. Part of the issue here today, and look, scoring 6 runs in a game, that's good. I mean, you'll take 6 runs most nights. You will. The problem here today was that aside from a span of 3 batters twice, once in the third, the Padres scored 3 runs literally in a span of 3 batters, a walk to Profar, RBI double for Tatis, and a home run by Cronenworth to give the Padres a 3-2 lead in the third. And then in the 7th inning, Padres are down 7-3 again. They end up scoring 3 runs in the span of 3 batters. Again, a 1-out walk, then an infield single, 3-run home run on the pinch hit by Luis Campusano. All of a sudden, it was a 7-6 game. But if you look aside from those 2 instances, the Padres either didn't have a lot going offensively as far as base traffic, or when they did, couldn't find ways to cash in, right? I mean, you can look at the first inning even, when they had the leadoff man on and then a 2-out double, couldn't score. You could look at the second inning when they had the leadoff man on, couldn't score. You can look at the 6th inning, a 2-out base runner, couldn't score. You could certainly look at the 7th inning, even after the Campusano home run. Look, I could argue this game was almost in the balance in that 7th inning after Profar hits a 1-out double to put himself the tying run on second base. But then Tatis and Cronenworth fly out. Instead of the Padres tying the game, taking a lead, they're still trailing 7-6, and they would not end up tying it. So that was really, arguably, their best opportunity to tie the game was right after that home run. Leadoff man on in the 8th inning. Manny's on second with 1 out. They can't get him in. So back to the Instagram DM. Look, I'd have to dive a little bit deeper to really assess if fly balls are the issue, if hitting the ball in the air is the issue. But here's what you can say. Today, aside from a couple of spots, there wasn't a whole lot of offense, and when the Padres did have RBI opportunities, they didn't cash in enough. You look at the runners in scoring position today, 2 for 7 in those scenarios. They needed another hit or 2 in those scenarios to come back and win this game. And then obviously yesterday, just 1 run on 3 hits. Padres didn't have an at-bat with a runner in scoring position, and the offense fairly quiet on Friday as well. So even though they scored 6 today, it wasn't a great offensive series for this team. So look, they've got to have their big guys carry the way, and we know that to be the case. Xander Bogaerts ended up having a single in this game. That was it. Fernando had an RBI double in this game, but again, a big spot in that 7th inning where a base hit ties the game. A home run gives the Padres the lead. He flies out to center field. We know from guys like Manny and Bogaerts and Tatis and Kim and your big guys, they've got to carry the way. And, entering this series, entering today's game, it's something we talked about pregame. Bogaerts and Tatis were 0 for 15 combined entering today's game in this series so far. And they just need more from those guys, bottom line. So overall, MK, I think overall it was sort of a frustrating offensive series. We'll see if the Padres can get it going against the Reds this coming week. Let's quickly switch gears, talk about the Padres bullpen today. We tell you about our relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher was able to come in and slam the door shut? It's time for the relief pitcher of the game in support of the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Food Bank, providing food assistance to local children, families, and seniors in need. To get help or give help, visit SanDiegoFoodBank.org.
Our relief pitcher of the game here today will stay on the Padres side of things. And we will give it to, not Cosgrove today, gave up a run. De Los Santos gave up the hit that led to that run charged against Cosgrove. Peralta gave up a run. So today we'll stay on the Padres, and we'll give it to Stephen Kolek, who, despite giving up a couple of hits in that ninth inning, got some help on an outstanding throw from Fernando Tatis Jr. on the leadoff base hit by Trey Turner. He was thrown out at second base trying to stretch that base hit into a double. But bottom line, Kolek threw up a scoreless inning, kept it a 2-run game. And that's all you could really ask from Stephen Kolek there in the ninth inning. So we'll stay on the Padres side of things with our relief pitcher of the game and give it to Stephen Kolek, who pitched a scoreless ninth inning in this one to keep it 8-6. Padres went down 1-2-3 in the bottom half of the ninth inning as the Phillies win it by the final score of 8-6. Andy tweeting in saying, are we going to start the quote-unquote it's early narrative? Granted, different team and new season, but we saw how that played out last season, and this team hasn't done enough to change history. So Andy asking if, I think the point of the tweet is, basically, am I sitting here saying it's early? Look, I think two things can be true at once, right? 14-17 is not a great start through 31 games, and it is not the hot start that I think a lot of us wanted to see from the outset of this season. With that said, it is April 28th, and with that said, there is time for this team to play a better brand of baseball than they've played so far. When you talk about some of the starting pitching issues, the defense, have there been nights and things that have been encouraging? Sure. The stretch between the series in L.A. and before that the series against the Cubs and going to Milwaukee. Look, there was a nice stretch in there, but that's been followed up now by a 3-8 record over the span of 11 games. So it's a better brand of baseball they need to play, I think, in really all facets. They have time to do that. But with that said, Andy, I'll say this. Is it April 28th? It is. But with the way the Padres' schedule is coming up, if they don't start playing better baseball, it could not go well here as far as the record, and you could find, this team well below 500 if you don't start playing better. I say that because look at the schedule. And again, I'm just making the point that it is imperative they start playing just a better brand of overall baseball because the schedule is hard. 3 games against Cincinnati. You're going to go to Arizona, play 3 games there. Diamondbacks not off to a hot start, but hey, that team went to the World Series last year. At the Cubs for 3, they're playing well. Dodgers come to town for 3. You get a little bit of a break with the Rockies coming in for 3, but then it's 2 Atlanta for 4, 2 Cincinnati for 3. Back home against the Yankees for 3. You get a little bit of a break with Miami coming in for 3. Then it's at Kansas City. They're off to a really good start for 3. In Anaheim for 3. Back home for Arizona until you get to Oakland in early June. They're here in San Diego. That's early June. That's June 10th. My point being, if I zoom out, look at the schedule for about the next month and a half, let's say, aside from a couple of series, whether it's at home or on the road, it's a lot of good teams the Padres are playing. And it's something we talked about weeks ago. It's a tough schedule. So the point is it April 28th? Is there plenty of season left for this team to play better baseball? Absolutely. But I think it's pretty imperative they start it right now because the schedule is tough. It's really, really tough. So they're going to have to start playing better, I think, in all facets, and we'll see if they can do that moving forward. When we come back on the Padres Radio Network, full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll continue to break this one down and interact with you either on Twitter, Instagram DMs at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. If you want to get involved there, you can comment on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube if you're watching via the video stream. And as always, phone calls 833-288-0973. Final score here today in the final game of this 3-game series as the Padres unfortunately get swept by the Phillies. The Phillies 8 and the Padres 6 on the Padres Radio Network. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we wrap this one up. Final score here today, Phillies 8 and the Padres 6. Tough one for the Padres once again as they allow 3 home runs in this game, 3 allowed by Michael King, who continues to struggle with the home run ball. It's been an up-and-down start to his Padres tenure. Have been a couple of really, really good outings, dominant outings for Michael King, but the home run ball and the walks have been a real issue for him so far in this first month plus of the season. You look at Michael King's outing today, the 1-out walk to Castellanos in the second, Bryson Stott, then a 2-run home run. In the 4th inning, 2 outs, nobody on, and then he walked Castellanos again, and then moments later, a Bryson Stott home run. So 2 home runs for Stott. He would later give up a 2-run home run to JT Realmuto as the Phillies took at that point a 6-3 lead. Phillies would make it 7-3. Luis Campusano, a pinch hit, 3-run home run in the bottom half of the 7th inning. Got the Padres within 1, made it 7-6, but that was as close as the Padres would get in this ball game here today. We continue our post-game coverage. If you want to get involved on Twitter or Instagram, you can tweet me, DM me on Instagram at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, you can comment and I'll see your comment, may address some of those, and if you want to get a phone call in, 833-288-0973. For now, let's take a wider look at the major leagues today as we take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at scores today from around the major leagues. The Red Sox ahead of the Cubs. Only game going on right now. Red Sox 1, Cubs nothing at Fenway in the second. Final in 10 in Atlanta today. Braves won it 4-3 over the Guardians. Austin Riley, a walk-off base hit in that game for Atlanta in the 10th inning. A's beat the Orioles 7-6 in Baltimore. Comeback win in the 9th inning for the A's in that one. Blue Jays beat the Dodgers 3-1 in Toronto. Tigers beat the Royals 4-1 in Detroit. Nationals beat the Marlins 12-9 in Miami. Yankees beat up on the Brewers 15-5 in Milwaukee. Anthony Volpe, a 3-run home run in that game for the Yanks. In New York, in 11 innings, it was Mark Vientos winning it for the Mets.
1-2 pitch. Vientos hits it high in the air, right center, pretty deep. Ciani going back onto the track, at the wall, he jumps, it is gone! A game-winning home run for Mark Vientos. Put it in the books. The Mets have defeated the Cardinals here in the bottom of the 11th by a score of 4-2.
Howie Rose on WCBS 880 in New York. The walk-off home run for Mark Vientos as the Mets win it. White Sox beat the Rays 4-2 in Chicago. White Sox have now won 2 in a row. Rangers beat the Reds 4-3 in Arlington. Wyatt Langford, very highly touted prospect with his first career home run in that game. By the way, the home run, an inside the Parker. How about that for the top prospect, Wyatt Langford? Final in Mexico City, Astros beat the Rockies 8-2. Jose Altuve, a home run in that game for Houston. Giants beat the Pirates 3-2 in San Francisco. A couple of home runs in that game for San Francisco. They came from Thairo Estrada and Mike Yastrzemski, as again the Giants went on to win it by a final score of 3-2. Twins beat the Angels 11-5 in Anaheim. Diamondbacks beat the Mariners 3-2 in Seattle. Ketel Marte had the go-ahead RBI double in that game for Arizona. And that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Sunday across the major leagues. Now let's tell you about our player of the game.
Which player had the biggest impact on today's game? Let's find out who is today's player of the game. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Catch every game at Patties and Bites. Plus, enjoy $4 beer every Thursday. Visit valleyviewcasino.com today.
Our player of the game here today, you know what, we'll stay on the Padres today, because I think you could make the argument that the biggest swing in this game, now early, Tatis the RBI double, Cronenworth a 2-run home run, gave the Padres a lead, those are big. But the swing that really put the Padres right back in it, that was the pinch hit home run by Luis Campusano. So for that reason, we'll give our player of the game here today to Campy. We'll stay on the Padres for this one. Campusano, a clutch home run in a tough spot, pinch hitting in the 7th inning. Went from a 7-3 game to a 7-6 game. Padres, right after that, a double from Jerks and Profar. They'd get the tying run into scoring position. Couldn't get that tying run home. But the reason the tying run was on base was because of what Campusano did with the 3-run home run. So for that reason, we'll give our player of the game today to Luis Campusano. All right, final score here today, Phillies 8, Padres 6. When we come back, we'll have our play of the game, wrap things up, get you ready for tomorrow as the Padres begin a 3-game series against the Cincinnati Reds. Final score, Phillies 8, Padres 6. More after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score here today, the Phillies 8 and the Padres 6. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we wrap this one up. Certainly a frustrating weekend for the Padres as they get swept in a 3-game series. Padres have now lost 4 in a row. They'll try to bounce back in the series opener against the Cincinnati Reds tomorrow. More on that game coming up in just a little bit. Again, the Padres with the defeat dropped to 14-17. Phillies with the win improved to 19-10 on the year. Phillies off to a very, very good start here in 2024. Let's hear our play of the game.
What was the crucial play that determined who came out on top? This is today's Play of the Game, presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Here's the pitch, and that is skied to right field. Fernando going back. He is on the warning track, at the wall, looking up, gonna go. Second 2-run homer of the day for Bryson Stott. And this thing seesaws back the other direction. Phillies back in front, it's 4-3.
Play of the game here today, unfortunately, for the Padres. The home run by Stott, it's got to be that way because after that, the Phillies never relinquished the lead. And it was a big home run, second of the day for Stott against Michael King. And from that point on, the Phillies would build on their lead, make it 6-3, make it 7-3, and ultimately, Padres never were able to tie the game. So, hey, is what it is here today. Big day for Bryson Stott, 2-run home run in the 4th inning. As far as impact on this game, well, that gave the Phillies their lead, and they never gave it up in this one here today. So, fortunately, last night here today, I'm not sure what Scraby picked on Friday when he was filling in for me, but had opposing plays of the game. But sometimes it goes that way, and so the Padres in a little bit of a rut right now. 3-8 in their last 11 games. They've lost 4 in a row, but the good news, it is April 28th, and the Padres have an opportunity to turn things around tomorrow as the Cincinnati Reds come to town for the start of a 3-game series here at Petco Park tomorrow evening. Before I get to that and get you ready for tomorrow and we get out of here on the Padres Radio Network, couple of reminders for you. Number one, we are introducing, if you've not checked it out yet, our new video stream of our pre- and post-game coverage here on the Padres Radio Network. It gives you another way to enjoy the pre- and post-game coverage on the radio side of things, and I guess the video streaming side of things. So you can now watch our pre- and post-game coverage on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch. So check that out if you have not already. Appreciate everybody who's tuned in on the video streaming side of things already. And through this weekend, we only started on Thursday, so we're brand new to the video streaming side of things. Number two, as always, you can find my entire post-game show. If you missed any of it, the radio highlights, what Mike Shildt had to say after today's game, you can find it on the Inside San Diego Baseball Podcast. Just search up Inside San Diego Baseball Podcast with Sam Levitt on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts. And that's where you can go back and listen to my full post-game show. The guys that put it up, including our studio coordinator today, Frank Marchese, they do a great job of splitting up that audio. We have pieces of audio on there, posts on there, if you will, that are just the post-game press conference, just the radio highlights, but also the post-game show in its entirety. So lots of good ways that you can tune in to our Padres post-game show and also catch up on the pregame content as well. Taking a look ahead to tomorrow, on the mound for the Padres, right-hander Matt Waldron. On the mound for the Cincinnati Reds, left-hander Nick Lodolo. First pitch tomorrow at 6:40. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show begins at 5:40. Certainly hope you can join us tomorrow, as again the Padres will begin a 3-game series against the Cincinnati Reds. Every Sunday is Military Sunday, and we want to take time to recognize and thank all military members for their amazing dedication and service. San Diego County Toyota dealers, proud partners of the Padres, are honored to support San Diego's military community. Taking a look at the final totals here today at Petco Park. For the Phillies, 8 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. They left on 6. For the Padres, 6 runs, 9 hits, no errors. They left on 4. Winning pitcher was Taijuan Walker, who improves to 1-0. Losing pitcher was Michael King, who drops to 2-3. And the save goes to Jose Alvarado, his 5th of the season. Time of game on this Sunday afternoon at Petco Park, 2 hours and 36 minutes, and the crowd, the 9th sellout of the season here in downtown San Diego, 42,037. Once again, first pitch tomorrow at 6:40. Pre-game coverage begins at 5:40 as the Padres begin a 3-game series against the Reds. Until tomorrow evening, for our great studio coordinator, Frank Marchese, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long from Petco Park. Again, the final score here today, the Philadelphia Phillies 8 and the San Diego Padres 6. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Padres Radio Network.